Social Club. Hashtag keep playing.
Sometimes it's going to hurt. Sometimes it's going to be painful. Sometimes you're not going to be able to walk. Are you hearing me? Sometimes when I'm running on that treadmill, I don't feel as good as I normally feel. My leg hurts. Sometimes I'm sick. But this is a physical sport. And if you want it, you got to go get it. You got to play hard for it. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? Because if you quit right now, you ain't going to never see.
Stay in the know and contribute online using hashtag keep playing. sportsocial.club.
About no days off, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays, listen to me, no days off. You gotta take one more step. You gotta run one more lap. You gotta throw one more punch until the top.
If you were to call me
Sport and Social Club. Hashtag keep playing.
Sometimes it's gonna hurt.
Did you go for a good hike?
Painful.
I went for a hike,
Again
went for
today?
a bike ride.
Sometimes you're not gonna be able to walk. Are you hearing me? Sometimes when I'm running on that treadmill, I don't feel as good as I
I
normally
spent the
feel.
weekend
My
in
leg
San Diego
hurts.
with friends
Sometimes I'm
and
sick.
overserved
But
myself,
this
so
is a
I gotta get
physical
back on
sport. And if you want it, you gotta go get it. You gotta play hard.
But you're
for it.
heavy-handed?
Are you hearing what I'm telling you? Because if you quit right now, you ain't gonna never see.
Stay in the know and contribute online using hashtag keep playing. sportsocial.club.
It's about no days off, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays, listen to me, no days off. You gotta take one more step. You gotta run one more lap. You gotta throw one more punch until the top.
Sport and Social Club. Hashtag keep playing.
Sometimes it's gonna hurt. Sometimes it's
We weren't getting the numbers. We will tonight. You're a bit of a draw.
Sometimes
So
you're not gonna be able
we
to
weren't
walk. Are
getting,
you
we
hearing
weren't getting
me?
the numbers
Sometimes
that
when I run on that
wanted.
treadmill, I don't feel as
It's
good
too
as I
bad.
normally
The
feel. My
conversation's
leg
been
hurts.
amazing. We
Sometimes,
were getting
I'm
40
sick, but
people
this
call,
is a
but
physical
we
sport.
should have been getting
And if
a
you
full
want it,
house.
you gotta go
And
get it. You gotta play hard for it. Are you hearing what
they've
I'm
been
telling you?
amazing.
Because
So
if
we
you quit
recorded
right
them, and
now,
we're
you ain't gonna never
we'll revisit this. I think.
Stay in the know and contribute online using hashtag keep playing. sportsocial.club.
work for it. If you wanna put in that sweat, that blood, eat. It's about no days off, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays. Listen, no days off. You gotta take one more step. You gotta run one more lap. You gotta throw one more punch until the top.
If I see a question I don't like, I'm just not gonna ask it. But even if I who's not ready, I'm ready. It's all good. I'm not gonna spend an hour, like hours of time.
Sport and Social Club. Hashtag keep playing.
Which, there's three sides to every story as far as I'm concerned. And
Sometimes
yeah,
you're not
so
gonna be able to walk. Are
we'll
you
just have a
hearing
good
me?
chat.
Sometimes when
This
I
is
run on that
Ralston.
treadmill,
Ralston
I don't
is
feel as
my
good as I
business
normally
partner.
feel. My leg hurts. Sometimes I'm sick, but this is a physical sport. And if you want it, you gotta go get it. You gotta play hard for it. Are you hearing what I'm telling you? Because if you quit right now,
Stay in the know and contribute online using hashtag keep playing. sportsocial.club.
it's about no days off, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays. Listen, no days off. You gotta take one more step. You gotta run one more lap. You gotta throw one more punch until the top.
I start letting everyone in, I'm gonna
Sport and Social Club. Hashtag keep playing.
just gonna start recording the Zoom call that way.
And then, do you need help with the chat?
Someone send a message to the people in the waiting room every time we're starting soon, please.
Yeah, I'll send that. I'll send that right now.
Other thought is that if you set me in the waiting room, like for future, I can always start. I can share my video at that time now and do that 5 minutes countdown. But that would give them at least a little bit of notification.
Stay in the know and contribute online using hashtag keep playing. sportsocial.club.
It's about no days off, no weekends, no holidays, no birthdays, listen to me, no days off. You gotta take one more step. You gotta run one more lap. You gotta throw one more punch.
You. And as a thank you to him, we would like to encourage all of you to consider, if you have fun this evening, please make a donation to Helping Hands. We definitely also want to thank our partners, Monster Hydro, Egg Farmers of Ontario, and the Beer Store. They all are huge supporters of getting people off the couch and playing, so we want to give them a huge thanks. But before we get any further, we're going to say, hey, Jeremy, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's great to be here, Chrissy. I appreciate you inviting me into what I think is a really cool event. I mean, getting everybody together, that's probably absolutely stone cold crazy, waiting for some kind of sports to start. With your organization that you do, where you allow so many people to play so many different sports, especially once we're done with our youthfulness, that we can continue to play sports and until we can't move anymore. So that's a great organization that you guys run. I'm glad everybody is staying healthy, and hopefully I can bring some smiles to your face. Hopefully I don't offend too many people. I've been known to do that every once in a while. I might throw a little locker room language out. So if I do, I'm going to apologize in advance because I will not apologize after. But I'm so happy to be here with you guys.
Fair enough. If you drop an F-bomb, let me just tell you that is bullshit. Don't do that. All right. We don't tolerate that. Yeah. No, you don't worry. We'll be okay with what you have to say this evening. We're really looking forward to it. So, bit about Jeremy, JR, born in Boston, moved all around, lived in 9 different cities before the age of 13, started playing hockey as a 3-year-old. He was in the NHL as an 18-year-old, went to 2 Olympics. He's got over 500, correct me if I'm wrong, got over 500 career goals, 50 goals twice in a season. That's huge.
Back-to-back seasons. Yep, back-to-back years. Yep.
Back-to-back seasons. 102 years the league has been around, and in those 102 years, the number of players who played in the league over that time, and he is ranked top 40. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
9 All-Star games, and the only player, I love this stat, the only player to lead the team in goals, assists, points, and penalty minutes 2 years back to back. That says something about your character. So speaking of your character,
it just means I was an asshole as well as a good player.
Well, so this is where I was going. Speaking of your character, my dad called me today. He said, I got to tell you a little story about Jeremy Roenick. My dad's on the call this evening. He said, I went to play golf with Brian Savage, who introduced me to you, a good friend of ours. I went to play golf with Savvy at Whispering Rock, and we were walking along the path, minding our own business, and some jackass drove up in a golf cart and nearly ran us over. Turns out, you probably don't remember this. It's probably something you do a lot, but it turns out it was you. And They had a lot of laughs about it. It was a good memory. You strike me as quite the prankster, fun-loving.
Yes,
you might offend some people, but you have fun.
There's no question. And I try not to offend people, but there are people that are extremely, extremely sensitive in this world today. And, I was born and raised and learned to play hockey with thick skin. And, I will always live that way. And I don't remember that time that I met your dad, but if Savvy was on the golf course at some point, I was going to find him anywhere because I love that man. And if I left the golf course without saying hi to him, I think he'd find me at some point and put a boot to my ass. So just tell your dad, I'm sure he's on here. Hi, Mr. Harold. How are you? Nice to see you. Get back out here, play some golf. It's the weather's great.
Well, we actually had an Ask an Athlete with Savvy a couple weeks ago. We had a huge Sudbury contingent join us, and I will tell you, the folks that joined us on the call loved it because he told the behind the scenes locker room version of Patrick Waugh leaving the Canadians, and it was a pretty cool inside scoop to hear for all the hockey fans. So, listen, tonight is not about me. Tonight is about you, and it's about our friends who are here in the Zoom room. So I'm going to ask people to start typing your questions that you've got for JR into the chat, and we're going to go through those questions. I'll finish off. I've got a couple little questions to wrap up with, but tonight I want to make it all about our friends who are joining us and the questions they have. So the first question we have is Elspeth. She wants to know, does it ever get mundane scoring a goal?
Never. It's so difficult to score goals in the National Hockey League, and sometimes they come few and far between. So to be able to put the puck in the net against the best players in the world, the best athletes in the world, is one thing. But then to hear the reaction and the crowd noise and the cheers, and then get the celebrations from your teammates, there is never a lull in the excitement level of scoring a goal. It is one of the things that I miss about playing hockey, actually, is being that person that put the puck in the net or made a great pass to help my teammate put the puck in the net. It's a priceless feeling, to tell you the truth.
Awesome. You kept it clean with that question, scoring a goal. That can be interpreted in a multiple number of ways.
I'm on a roll.
Jeff would like to know, what was your favorite and least favorite blended food after the slap shot in 2004?
By the way, thank you for remembering that slap shot in 2004. It was in Madison Square Garden, and it actually was one of my claim to fame also, because I was playing for the Flyers, playing in New York, and there's one thing you can always count on is Ranger fans hating Flyer players, and it was booze everywhere. It was always a huge rivalry. But when I got hit in the face with that slap shot, it was about 125 miles an hour, broke my jaw in 24 places. I actually stood up and skated off the ice with people holding my jaw in place. I would not let them bring a stretcher. And actually the people in Madison Square Garden all stood up and gave me a standing ovation. So I think I'm one of the only Flyer fans that ever got a standing ovation without retiring or something like that. So let me just preface that. I might be the only person that broke their jaw that gained weight as as with their mouth wired. My wife, I broke my jaw in 1998, so my wife was well versed on how to feed me with broken jaws. So when I broke my jaw in 2004, my wife had figured out how to blend ossobuco with carrots and mashed potatoes with a bunch of cream all together. And let me tell you something, it sounds awful, but it was one of the most unbelievable things that I have ever seen, ever drank, ever tasted in a blend in my life. And it was so fattening that I actually gained weight. The worst thing that she tried to blend was a filet mignon, because it just didn't click the way that an ossobuco did. But
little woody.
Yeah. And chicken is not very good blended either, no matter what you put in it. And she tried everything, but an ossobuco with mashed potatoes and cooked carrots was amazing.
So I'm going to be honest, that was just not a question I was anticipating this evening. I did tell you, I'm not much of a hockey, I'm not a hockey person per se. So all these questions are so entertaining for me because I have no idea what they're even talking about when I ask the question. That's great. That's some good stuff. Good to know. Ossobuco, mashed potatoes, and cream. All right.
By the way, that's the first time that question's ever been asked to me. So it's a good one.
Very original. Thanks for that great question, Jeff. We're going to go to JP's question. He wants to know, besides Tony Amonte, who was the teammate you most enjoyed playing with? And, ready for this, who couldn't you stand? We know you're going to be honest with us. Who couldn't you stand playing with?
So I had I'm going to have to give you a couple favorites and a couple that I couldn't stand. So Chris Chelios is probably one of my favorite teammates that I ever played with. He epitomizes leadership. He loved the game more than anybody. I think he played like 24, 25 years as a pro. We call him Captain America. He's just epitomizes true grit and loyalty and the love and passion for the game. Keith Tkachuk is another guy that I truly love playing with. Rick Tocchet, Mark Recchi. I've played with some of the best players of all time in terms of wingers. In terms of my least favorite, the goaltender that I played with in Philadelphia, his name was Roman Cechmanek. Could not stand the man. Couldn't stand it when he was in goal. He quit on us a couple times, especially in playoffs. He wanted to go back and play for his country in the World Championships in Czech Republic, and looked at playing in the World Championships as more important than playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So as soon as the season was over, I pretty much said to our GM, if he comes back, I'm not coming back. I'm not playing with that man again. And another guy named Oleg Treverdovsky, who was a Russian, played with me in Phoenix. For some reason, he was just on his own little world, own little planet. And I found it hard to get him to buy into what we were doing, buy into working hard in practice, doing the drills right. I actually fought him twice in practice because he screwed up the same drill twice after we got skated. And that's just not going to fly with me. So those are the two guys that I just could not stand.
All right, fair enough. On a hopefully more positive note, Will would love to know, do you still keep in touch with John LeClair?
You know what? I just saw John LeClair I think it was last fall. He's a fantastic man, a good friend of mine. Our kids actually went to high school together and prep school in Connecticut. So I got to see a lot of John. I call him Chocolate. He doesn't like it too much, but my nickname for him is Chocolate LeClair. And he's by far one of my other favorite players. He had a slap shot that was unmatched, with the most ugliest curve of his stick that you have ever seen in the National Hockey League. It was so ugly. He would break 2 or 3 sticks in curving it himself before he finally got one to fit his eye before he went to play. The guy was an amazing goal scorer.
Awesome. Anthony is asking a question. We've had this question asked of a couple of people, a couple different athletes. I love it. What current active NHL player reminds you of yourself?
None.
And why not?
Zero. Because I've been asked this question before, and I think I have to be totally honest with you. So I look, you said a couple of things in the beginning, Christy, about some of my accolades, some of the things that I've accomplished. Nobody in history has led their team in back-to-back years, goals, assists, points, and penalty minutes. So I was asked the question, who scored goals at the rate that I did, had as many assists and was as good a playmaker as I was at the time, who fought as many times as I did, and who ran around the ice with bone-crushing hits night in and night out, sacrificing my body to try to knock somebody else out. That kind of that reckless type of hockey. The only guys that I could think of were maybe like a Brendan Shanahan, but Shanny didn't hit as much as I did. I had way more hits in the course of a year than he did. You can't say Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin's playmaking ability wasn't up to mine. I fought a lot more than Alex Ovechkin. He's a big hitter, but I think I had like 40 some odd fights in hockey league, a lot more penalty minutes. So I really nobody, not in the whole scheme of things. If you take every aspect of a hockey player, I don't see many guys. Tell you the truth, I don't see any guys in the National Hockey League that did it the way I did, to the level that I did it in every single aspect of the game.
That's really interesting. I mean, it really is interesting to hear that not only were you such a high goal scorer and good point scorer, but to be getting the penalty minutes too. Even I know, as a non-hockey player person, that's kind of cool that you got it all.
Almost 1,600 penalty minutes. That's a lot of penalty minutes for someone with over 500 goals and 1,200 points. I mean, that's. But it was my physical nature, not just so much the fighting, Christy, but I was known as one of the hardest hitters in the game. Like I would hit 2 or 3, 4 guys a game with, massive hits that not only took a toll on their body, but took a toll on my body too. So, I would love to debate anybody that would bring up a name, and I could give you a good debate on why that person didn't play like I did. So, I think it's one of my claims of fame.
I think we believe you. We don't need to debate. But in speaking of debating, I am going to ask you. So I have a fairly strong character. I like to go toe to toe with anyone, as any of my friends would attest. And luckily for me, I've been blessed with a child, three, but one in particular, who shares the character that I have and challenges me to no end. And I'm just curious, do you see that in any of your children? I have one. I have a spitting image. My daughter, who is 25, she lives in Germany. She's a professional equestrian. She is a spitting image of me in terms of her strength, her ego, her kindness, her ability to be as what's the word I'm looking for? See, these are the concussions when I start to think. You know what? I think it's just good to hear. It's good to hear that that's the case, because I think when you have that, that feeling, that pushback, you kind of recognize, right? Yeah, you get what everyone else has been dealing with, right? Little eye-opening.
Stubborn. The word I'm looking for is stubborn. She is extremely stubborn, just like her dad.
Kent would love to know, in all those goals scored, who was the toughest goalie you ever faced? Did anyone ever not let you score on them?
For me, it was Marty Brodeur. I never liked playing against Marty Brodeur. He always had a very unique style. Patrick Roy was really the first goaltender that adopted the butterfly style, and he did it the best. And then Marty Brodeur came in and pretty much mastered it. The size of him, his talent, his ability to cover the net. he would always show me a whole side of the net and literally just, flirt with me to shoot at that shot. And of course I sucked me in and I'd shoot at it, and he would just move over and make a quick little glove save and just smile at me going by. He just made it so difficult for me. So Marty Brodeur was the toughest for me.
Did you ever score on him?
A few times, yeah. But not as many as I'd like.
Okay.
I think the goaltender I scored the most on in my career is Patrick Roy, believe it or not. So.
Interesting. Well, it was really fun. Brian's story of hearing about him the other day was really super fun.
Yeah.
Cal would love to know, who's the best trash talker you ever played with or against? Put yourself aside. Who is the best trash talker?
It would have to be pretty much everybody on the Pittsburgh Penguins. When I was playing against the Penguins, it was Kevin Stevens and Brian Trottier and Rick Tocchet. These guys would put you into places where you would have zero comebacks. They would embarrass you. They would they would go all different places to make sure that they got your head out of the hockey game and made you so irate that you wanted to fight them. And then they were tough as nails afterwards too. But those are a couple of the guys that I remember the most. A guy named Dallas Strake that played with me in Phoenix also, and also in Detroit. That guy never, ever, ever stopped talking in the course of the game, no matter who it was.
That's awesome. Okay, this is a great question. This is a really interesting question. Mike would love to know, how many of your 500 plus goals would you trade for a Stanley Cup?
Every single one of them.
Really?
Every single one of them, no question. Because, without scoring goals, you can still be something very important to winning a team, whether it's making a great assist, make great pass, good defensive play, being really physical. It's one thing that, I will never experience of what it's like is winning a championship. And I've won championships in every single level that I've ever played except the National Hockey League, and almost everything that I did. And, that's always going to be an asterisk over my head, unfortunately. But every single one, 513 of them for sure.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so this is a question from my friend Charlie. The one I told you was just jumped off a call with A-Rod to come join you. Charlie wants to know. He says, I'm going to be honest, Charlie, I do not understand what this is all about, but I'm just going to word for word read what you've written. This is typical for me. I don't know what hockey fans are saying. I know you're saying Gordie Howe. I'm assuming you mean Gordie. I know Gordie Howe is important to you. What with the snow on the head and all? That's what I don't get. And I know you've scored a shit ton of points, but have you ever collected a Gordie Howe hat trick?
I have many Gordie Howe hat tricks. Yeah, I think I have seven, 8 or 9 Gordie Howe hat tricks in my career, maybe even more.
What's a Gordie Howe hat trick?
Hat trick. It's a goal, an assist, and a fight all in the same game. Yes,
nice.
I believe I'm probably going to say I probably have 11 or 12 of them. So those were very valuable in my life too. As far as Gordie Howe, I truly believe that the fans are the most important part of pro sports. Without fans, we would just be a regular men's league with a designated beer guy at our local arena. So I was always one to make sure that I reached out to fans. I threw them pucks. I would look at them through the glass and maybe put my hand through the glass and steal some popcorn out of a kid's bag or take his hat off his head. Give them an experience. Give them a story that they can tell their friends, or something that they can remember of an event where a celebrity or an athlete or maybe one of their heroes did something that was abnormal. So at the time, I was that's my wife that is interviewing, that is not knowing I'm in a Zoom call right now. Sorry, everybody.
I love it.
That was my 11-year-old Great Dane that knocked over my glass of wine. But anyway,
I love it. You can tell your wife she's the only one that swore during the entire call.
Yeah, I will definitely make sure that she knows she's the only one that swore in front of everybody on this call. So anyway, so I always had this craving to make sure that the fans, there's my wife again. Say hi, babe. You want to say hi? Yeah, say hi. Hi. Say hi to everybody. There's about 400 people on here in Canada watching you, by the way. So make her feel great. So I always wanted to make sure that fans knew that I appreciated them being there. And it all stemmed from when I was 7 years old. Gordie Howe dumped snow on my head while I was watching a Hartford Whalers practice. And then he came around, he winked at me. And I always thought for 30 seconds out of my life, it was just me and Gordie Howe. Like there's a whole bunch of kids that were on the railings watching the practice. But he dumped snow on my head, not anybody else's. And then he winked at me. And I was like, this is the coolest thing of all time. And I told the story to my parents. I told the story to my friends, my teachers, and I'm telling it to you now at 50 years old. So I knew as an athlete, I knew as a slash celebrity, I hate that word, but that I knew that with 10 seconds of my time, 5 seconds of my time, which is nothing, I could leave a lasting impression and a lasting story that someone could tell and relive and maybe make them a better person moving forward. And I always tried to do that every time I was on the ice, and it all stemmed from Gordie Howe.
That's such a great story. Chuck, thanks for asking the question, and JR, that's a great story. Thanks for sharing. I love it. Did you ever get the chance to meet him in person? I'm assuming you did.
Oh yeah. So this is
later.
That's a great question. So I've met him many times, obviously, but in 1999, I believe the All-Star game, or 2000, the All-Star game was in Tampa, Florida. And we would come out of the hotel as a team to get on the bus. And the hotel had a certain area roped off where all the fans that wanted to get autographs would stand. And the players that wanted to give autographs would walk over and sign for all the people that were waiting. Well, I was signing autographs, and I was just busy trying to sign as many as I could before I had to leave. And I went to grab this piece of paper, and I grabbed the piece of paper, and I was pulling it, and and the person wouldn't let it go. So I'm finally like, what the hell? And I looked up, and all of a sudden I see Gordie Howe come like this, right out from all the people. And he was kind of playing a joke on me that he wanted my autograph. And I thought that was just so cool. And I obviously had told him the story, and he loved it. And, we miss him. He is Mr. Hockey for a reason. And, I've been very blessed to meet the greatest players that have ever played this game.
That's awesome. What a great story. Okay, we've got about 5 minutes. Can we take you like 3 minutes past 7:30? Is that?
You take me for 10 or 15 more. I'm having a blast.
Okay, well then that's awesome. Thank you. By the way, I wanted to point out to everyone who's joining us this evening, when I called JR, because Brian Savage, my friend, introduced us, I told him what we were doing. He immediately was like, absolutely, I'm so into this. And he was telling me that he just the other day, the day before, he'd spent time doing a Zoom call with a classroom of grade 2 kids. Mm-hmm. He just loves to engage with people and share stories and inspire. And so thank you. This is really awesome.
My pleasure.
So Steve would love to know, how did you end up playing with the Hull Olympiques? And do you remember anything about playing in the Crazy Q rinks?
All right, this might be a little lengthy. I'm going to try to speed it up as much as I can. In 1984, Wayne Gretzky came to Boston with the Edmonton Oilers, and he asked me to come to the city, have breakfast with him, and go to his game against the Boston Bruins. At the time, Wayne Gretzky owned the Hull Olympics junior team up in Hull, Quebec. I, at the time, was like a kid on cloud nine. Gretzky was in the prime of his career. Here I am having breakfast with him. He's telling me about his team and wanted me to go play there, was giving me accolades. I went to the Boston Garden, went in the locker room. He treated me like a king. Unfortunately for him, I decided not to go play for his team, but his team drafted me anyway in the last pick of the Quebec Major Junior Draft in 1984. So fast forward to when I turned pro at 18, I went and played with the Chicago Blackhawks. I played 5 games to start the season. I had 0 points. So Mike Keenan goes, you know what? You might have to go to playing junior and play with these kids for a couple months, and then we'll bring you back to Chicago Blackhawks, get a little bit of tutelage against some better competition. So I had the chance to either go to Hull because they owned my rights because they drafted me, or Sault Ste. Marie in the Ontario League. And I found out how far a drive that Sault Ste. Marie had to do all the time. So I decided to go play for Hull, which was obviously, again, more of an offensive league. So I chose to go to play in Hull and ended up having like 65 points in 26 games for the Hull Olympics, and lit that place up on fire, and then went back to Chicago in February and never went back again.
Awesome. Okay, so we have, guys, we have so many great questions coming in here, and unfortunately, we're not going to get to them all. So I apologize if we don't get to your questions. I'm gonna just do my best to pick the ones that I hope will speak to everyone. Ian, our pal Ian, would love to know, what's your best hockey fight story?
My best hockey fight story. Well, I have a few of them. The one where it scared me half to death when Bob Probert came after me and attacked me. He beat me up. I learned real quick as a young hockey player that when you hit somebody real hard, you do not stand over them and gloat over a big hit. I did that with Marty McSorley, who at the time was Wayne Gretzky's, protector and resident tough guy. He was bringing the puck up the boards, and I ran him. I hit him so hard, and he ended up between my legs on his back on the ice. And I looked at him for just a split second too long. And as I skated away, I felt his hand grab me behind my shirt, pull me back, turn me around, and before I can get my gloves off to throw the first punch, he hit me right here in the forehead so hard that everything went black for about 4 seconds. Totally black, and I tried to grab him and hold on to him as long as I can. Threw a couple punches, but definitely learned a valuable lesson in my early playing career.
Okay. Chris Wesley has an 8-year-old daughter, Fiona, who's currently playing hockey, but she hears things like, "It's okay, you're just a girl. It's a guy's game. Don't expect to compete equally with them." How do you respond to that?
Hate it. I wish I was in that room when I heard that statement being said, because they would hear a load of backlash from me. One thing that we need in this world is female athletes, female hockey players especially. We have 80,000 female hockey players in the United States right now, and it's growing rapidly. I truly believe that every person, whether you're a female or a male, should have the exact same opportunities, should be treated the exact same when it comes to sports. Sports is a great way to learn how to be a good person, have a good competitive level, be a good loser, be a good winner, be a good teammate. And these are the things that we have to look at when we're growing as kids, and we're parents or coaches growing as kids. And the more people that can get into sports, regardless if you're a female or a male, you need to get in there. It's good for your body. It's good for your health. We have too much child obesity in the world today. Never deter a person from playing sports, regardless of their talent level or their age, their gender, their sex. I don't care what it is. We have to promote healthy kids, healthy atmospheres, and healthy habits, and sports is one of them. I'm a huge advocate. I'm a huge advocate for women's sports.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you. And I'm going to also say, Ian, who has a 12-year-old son, he asks a question, which is actually something we spoke fairly in detail with Savvy about. I don't know if you knew this about Savvy, but that guy could have gotten a scholarship to colleges for a number of sports. I've always actually said it was for golf, basketball, track, and hockey. I learned on our call, I've been exaggerating. It was only golf and hockey, but he didn't even play hockey in high school for a few years in high school. So Ian wants to know, the game has become 12 months a year now, spring hockey tournaments, nonstop training expectations. Yep. What would you tell a 12-year-old boy about your development to becoming an NHL player? Did you play year round and train all summer, or did you play multiple sports?
Variety. I think it's really important for kids to play different sports, because you learn different disciplines and you learn to use different parts of your body. Different sports you use different muscles and different fast twitch muscles and and instincts in different sports. So I was a better soccer player. I was a better baseball player than I was a hockey player. I just chose the hockey route because it just seemed I was getting the most attention on. I got a scholarship to kick field goals at Boston College. I could have gone and played any soccer league in Europe if I wanted to, but I played every sport I possibly could growing up. It was, soccer during the summer. I would play in a couple summer hockey leagues. It was baseball in the springtime, and hockey in the wintertime, and football in the winter. So, and then golf as much as I possibly could. So I was an all-around athlete. And I think some of the best athletes that ever have been alive were good at multiple sports because you learn different parts of your body.
Totally agree. It's good to hear you say that. It's a bit sad how focused kids are getting at such a young age. And I think it's burning them out.
Yeah. It's also is that exactly what you said. Kids get burned out and they lose interest. And what makes players better is their eagerness and their ability to be excited about what they're doing and love what they're doing. And just like anything else, if it's just one thing over and over again, they're going to lose interest. Like they're being, oh, do I have to go practice again? Oh, I'm tired of this. Oh, why again? Variety is the spice of life. That's what they say. So, keep it interesting.
Absolutely. Mike would love to have you show us your COVID haircut.
Oh, my COVID haircut's all over the place. Are you kidding me? I don't think I've used a brush or a comb in 5 weeks. Literally. I'm not kidding either. My gel, my gel supply right now is totally, I have way too much gel right now. I haven't used it in 5 or 6 weeks.
I'm going to ask one more question from the group, and then I've got one to wrap up with. Quinlan would love to know, who's the toughest coach that you've ever had, and did you respond well to a certain type of coaching versus another?
Yep. Well, Mike Keenan was by far the toughest coach. He was a dictator. He was a yeller. He was a screamer. He was my first coach in Chicago. He taught me how to play the game tough. He taught me how to play it rough. He taught me how to play with pain. He was one of those guys where he didn't want anybody on the team to feel comfortable. It was always yelling. It was always negative. Very rarely was there a smile on Mike's face. He wanted to be the rough and tumble Chicago Blackhawks, and the way to do that was to make everybody on edge all the time. We had fights in practice 3 or 4 times a week. Nothing ever seemed to be enough, and you needed thick skin to be able to survive with them. But if it wasn't for that coaching, I don't think I would have become the player that I had become. I had a very disciplinary coach in high school. My dad was my coach, and he was a disciplinarian growing up, so I was kind of prepared for it. This was a different level, but I had thick skin, and I knew it wasn't personal. I knew it was for the bigger, better part for the team. And as long as you keep that in mind and he kept playing me. If he didn't play me, I wouldn't have stood for it, but it was worthwhile.
Well, that's great. Great questions. And thank you, JR, for
Chrissy,
giving such great.
I thought I saw a question come across the board that I would love to answer, because I think it's a different answer. Somebody asked, what do I miss most about the game, or about not being in the NHL anymore?
Yes.
So you hear a lot of guys getting asked that question, and their usual response is, I miss the locker room. I miss the camaraderie, the guys going on the road trips, going out for dinners, that relationship with all my teammates, that kind of that brotherhood. I do miss that a lot. That is one of my favorite things. But the one thing that I miss the most, and kind of visualize kind of as I'm saying this, because I think it's a pretty cool answer. When we walked onto the ice, every team has to walk down that hallway and walk down the corridor and then step onto the ice through the door gate onto the ice. Stepping onto that ice, onto that platform, I called it the stage. That is surrounded by boards and plexiglass that separated the players from the fans. And all the people that were in the stands paid their hard-earned money to come be entertained and to watch a sport and to watch a game. And they came to watch players like me. And that intimacy of being on that stage, being on the ice, knowing that I could throw a puck to a fan. Like I said, I can look at a fan and wink at them. I could grab some popcorn out of a kid's hand. I can make a big hit. I could score a beautiful goal, make a great assist, block a shot, do something that made people in the stands cheer, or maybe they booed me, whatever the case may be. But there was a separation between the fans and being on that ice where all the lights were on, that stage, and being able to entertain people and make it worth their money to come watch and bring their family to have a good night. I miss that ability to engage in the fans that way. That's what I miss the most.
So you're a performer.
I am definitely a performer. Just ask my wife.
You know, you just need to come to Toronto. I started an adult community musical theater troupe for.
I'm in.
Yeah, so just come and join us, and it's the same feeling.
I'm not afraid. Well, just for everybody here, at the end of the month, we're going to be launching my new streaming platform. I've joined with a couple other former athletes and some Silicon Valley guys to create a streaming platform called No Filter Broadcasts. And we will be bringing no filter, opinionated broadcasts to your devices, whether it's your computer, your phone, your iPad, and it will be a lot of fun. So a lot of streaming content coming, not only from me, but from a lot of your favorite athletes that we will be bringing to No Filter, and it will be no filter. So
that's awesome. That sounds amazing. So I have one last question before we wrap up for you, and you sort of. I loved that you picked the question you did that you wanted to answer, because it sort of, you alluded to what most people expect the answer to be in terms of what do you miss most. And I guess I wanted to ask you, you know, we run sports leagues for adults. These are people, no one's going to the NHL from Sport and Social Club floor hockey games. They're just not going to get there from, right? These are leagues for people who are just playing recreationally. So George Bernard Shaw has said, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. Talk to us about how important is it to play team sports as an adult, to keep playing?
I think it's really important. You should never lose that sense of being a teammate, of camaraderie. I think, levels of competition can get so high, and it can get as low as you want. I think expectations are going to be lower, but I think doing things with other people and having one goal, having one thing to achieve, whether it's winning a hockey game or winning a volleyball game, or and being able to shake hands with your opponent afterwards, it teaches even adults, and keeps us humble and keeps us energized and excited. But even more so, it keeps us healthy. Sitting on the couch and watching television and, not having a healthy diet, especially, once you get to my age and over 50 and over, it's really important to stay active. We want to live as long as we possibly can. Sports is the best outlet to stay active and to stay healthy, and which makes your organization one that I think should be copied all over the world. Allow everybody to get out regardless of their talent level, and compete, have fun, and stay healthy. It's so important. So I can't stress it enough.
Awesome. Totally agree. We got to get people to keep playing. JR, thank you so much for your time this evening. Before we completely wrap up, we're going to unmute everyone just so they can shout out a goodbye and a thank you to you, because
great.
It's really nice to hear people's voices. So Graham, if you want to unmute everyone and everyone can say goodbye.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, everybody. Great show.
Thank you.
Bye. No filter.
Awesome.
I love you all. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
JR,
Over,
suffice
Jeremy.
to say, you brought some smiles to people's faces tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And when you find yourself next in Toronto, please let me know. We'd love to take you out to pour a glass of. We'll share a bottle of Cab since that's your fave.
Amen. Thank you, Christy. I'm gonna take you up on that. All right. Thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you for everybody.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks so much, guys. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Sweetheart.
Thanks, Graham.
Keep playing.
Bye.
Yeah. No, she had a really good number tonight. She had the best, the highest number yet. Oh shit. Oh shit. We're still on.
Oh, you're still on.
Still on.
You're still on. Just
Oh, that was too funny. Elspeth, you cracked me up. Bye, Dad. I'll call you later. Thanks, Graham. Thanks, buddy. That worked out great. You good? Graham,
no
you good?
problem at all.
Okay, bud. That was awesome. Thanks so much.
All right.
We'll chat tomorrow. Okay,
Sounds
pal.
good.
See ya.
Yeah. See
Bye.
you later. Bye.
Bye, Dad.
Yeah. Talk to you later.